issue I have chosen to elaborate on is sustainability and long-term planning when accounting for government executive branches. Now, I personally found the article What Lies by Paul Klumpes and Malcolm Prowl particularly interesting. It brought up the problems arising from intergeneration inequality, and the issues are very relevant to upcoming generation of taxpayers, including myself. And it is explained in the article that the aging baby boomers will place unfair burden on society through increase in healthcare demands and claims for pensions that exceeds their original contribution to the state superannuation schemes. Also, after the Great Recession in 2007 and 2008, many governments are trying to keep afloat by sourcing their capital with large-scale borrowing. And this in the future develops into long-term public debts, which will most likely haunt future taxpayers with repayments on principals and interest expenses. And although it is not mentioned in the article explicitly, another problem for future taxpayers to deal with would be the spillover effects on the environment. And after the Second World War, economic growth was ushered in without regards for consequences on pollution levels and climate changes. All of these translate into significant economic losses for society over an extended period of time, so executives must begin to ponder the aftermath of their decisions made at present time. The issue of sustainability is very relevant to the three aforementioned features of an executive branch. For taxation and appropriation planning, executives ought to be particularly careful with the timing of taxation and appropriation. Now, taxation should be levied in a way that does not put unfair pressure on a certain generation of taxpayers in order to cater for budgetary needs of another generation. So to avoid such inequity, public servants and executives should also strive to have a long-term view to keep their respective branches managed sustainability for the years to come. For accountability and chains of responsibility, it is very difficult to hold former managers and executives accountable for something that had taken place a generation ago. And at the same time, it wouldn't be appropriate for current generation of governments to dump responsibilities onto their successors. So the question arises, who's to know what consequences would decisions made today affect us in 10 or 20 years from now? And if there should be a problem in the future, we may become aware of who was responsible for the cause of the problem, but who is actually going to be responsible for dealing with the problem. For financial and performance accounting aspect, ideally a more clairvoyant appropriation of tax money would be necessary to disperse expenditures that will be incurred by government branches further down the road. But at the same time, this may lead to a restrictive and conservative plan, which in turn may hinder the present-day running of the government due to lack of immediate funding. For example, as it currently stands, social service agencies in New Zealand are dealing with increasing workload with stretched resources. And these organisations require upfront investment of resources to respond to the demands they are facing currently. So the trade-off for such investments is that it may affect the long-term quality and scope of social services at the cost of immediate ability to respond. So in conclusion, the topic of sustainability is definitely starting to raise some eyebrows around the public sector, but it is still hard to find a starting point to quantify such an uncertain and abstract issue. And I quote the What Lies article that reflects the earlier point. Unfortunately, there is no generally accepted concept of sustainability underlying either the conceptual basis for or practices in public sector for financial accounts. Now, given that there hasn't been much consideration on the issue historically, there is little information on exactly how severe the financial implications will be in the future. So therefore, with limited information and obscure public awareness, executives must be sensitive of current accounting environments, yet demonstrate long-term vision when weighing the needs and burdens of both the present and future government. During the making of this assessment activity, a couple of points have been brought to light for me. Now, firstly, the word sustainability has much more vagueness implied than initially thought. The austerity in government operations is only one of many requirements in order to achieve sustainability, as it involves many unknown variables such as market stability and changes in social environments. And secondly, the public discussions for sustainability seem to lead towards no substantial action taken by the government to address the issue. And unless drastic shifts in paradigm occur in the coming years, reforms in accounting will be needed to stimulate a movement towards sustainability. However, as mentioned in the journal by De Vries and Nemec, there appears to be reluctance to reform public sector administration, and this is another issue entirely on its own. So all in all, the problems public governments has to deal with are not so much arithmetic as initially suspected, but more stemming from future uncertainties. And that concludes my video submission. Thank you.